Hi, this is Peter Schiff. It is Friday, October 23rd, 2009. Well, another week has come to an end, another down week for the U.S. dollar. We made new lows for the year. I think we managed a slight uptick today and yesterday, but still, dollar made a new low for the year this week, a new closing low on a weekly chart. And, I wrote my commentary today on the Europac website about King Dollar losing its throne, and there's been a lot of discussion recently about the weak dollar and what it means. And there seems to be two camps out there. One camp actually thinks the weak dollar is a good thing, and they're happy about it. They think it's good for the economy. They think it's good for the market. Of course, they're totally wrong. Then you have another camp that thinks that the dollar going down is a bad thing, and they want the government to stop it. But they think it can be stopped just by talking tough or by raising interest rates a little bit, and that's all you have to do. Of course, they're wrong as well. The weak dollar is a very bad thing. Unfortunately, it's a necessary consequence of the terrible monetary and fiscal policies that we've pursued as a nation, and the way it's so undermined our industrial capacity that, unfortunately, a lower dollar is now necessary. But my problem is that I don't want the lower dollar to get even weaker and weaker and weaker. I don't want the dollar to fall in perpetuity and eventually become worthless. In order to avoid that fate, we need to do a lot more than simply talk tough and raise interest rates a little bit. We need to raise interest rates a lot. And we need the government to abandon the bailouts and the stimulus and all that and reverse course. We need to seriously reduce government spending, and we need to repair the damage done to our economy so that the dollar drops, but then eventually I can regain some of that lost purchasing power. But the fact that the dollar has to go down is not a good thing. It unfortunately may be a necessary thing at this point, but what is not necessary is that we completely destroy the dollar. And that's what we're in danger of doing if we continue to pursue these policies. Also on the week, I noticed that we're starting to get more of an increase in interest rates. Long-term rates are still relatively low. I think the 10-year yield is just below 3.5%. I think the 30-year is around 4.3. Still low yields in the historic scheme of things. Not quite as low as they were a couple of weeks ago. And of course, initially when you see this increase in interest rates and also in consumer prices, as eventually I'm sure we start to see a bigger pickup in CPI, the government is going to spin this as a positive. So will Wall Street. They're going to say, well, interest rates are rising. That's a sign that the economy is turned around. Economic activity is picking up. People are more aggressive. They're not hiding out in bonds. That's a good thing. They'll say prices are rising. Consumer prices are going up because the economy is improving, and we've dodged a bullet. We've avoided deflation. This is all a good thing. At least that's what they're going to say. Of course, that's just their spin. Rising prices are not a good thing. Rising interest rates are not going to be a good thing. They're going to be a result of inflation, not economic growth. And at some point, we're going to get too much of a good thing, and the government is not going to be able to rationalize it, nor will Wall Street be able to convince people that these are positive signs when, in fact, they are negative signs. Also, another economic data point that came out today was with home sales. We saw a rather substantial pickup in home sales. And I think this gain, and even the media will acknowledge that this gain is largely attributable or almost entirely attributable to the tax credit for first-time home buyers, which is defined as somebody who hasn't bought a home in the past 3 years, I believe. But that $8,000 tax credit is about to expire unless Congress extends it. And so people are trying to rush and make their purchases before the credit expires. And so that's why we had this jump in purchases. I was looking at an article reporting this in the news, and I'm going to read a quote from an economist that they interviewed. And he said, quote, an improvement in house prices is an important condition for an increase in housing wealth and therefore higher willingness of households to start spending again. So in other words, what this individual economist is saying is that he thinks it's a good thing. If the government can just artificially prop up home prices, then Americans will think they're richer than they really are. And based on this false perception of their wealth, they'll actually go out and spend money that they don't have to buy things that they can't afford. And this, according to an economist, is supposed to be a good thing. Obviously, it's a terrible thing. Why would we want people to have a false impression of their wealth so that they'll spend more money than they really should? We want people to build their wealth the old-fashioned way, by saving. That's how the economy is going to grow. And we want people to buy things when they can afford them, not because they think they're richer, because home prices have temporarily gone up. You know, rising home prices are not wealth. It's just a higher price. Nothing changes. Just because a house is valued higher than it was at a prior period, but the house is the same, the house hasn't been improved, there is no real wealth. It's just a number on a piece of paper. And the price can go lower as easily as it goes higher, as we've just seen. But you would think that economists would understand this, that the government would want to move away from this phony economy, this perception of wealth that doesn't exist, to encourage people to act in irresponsible ways. Because remember, we got into this crisis because people acted foolishly. They acted irresponsibly. They responded to false economic signals that were being sent by the government. And again, here we are again. We are interfering with the free market, with the tax code, with credits, with artificially low interest rates to get people to do things that in the free market they wouldn't normally do. And then, of course, down the road, we're going to get the adverse consequences of all this government policy and this government manipulation. And what's going to get blamed for it? Not the government. It's going to be the free market. It's going to be capitalism. And the solution, well, more regulation, more stimulus, more bailouts, bigger problems. Anyway, that's it. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll be back again soon.